This is the Lockpicking Lawyer, and the lock I have for you today is a Lockwood Model 334B. This is one of the locks that was sent to me by Con, Peter, and William in Australia. So gentlemen, thank you again for all of the locks that you sent my way. The core in this lock is very special. It is the Lockwood MT5 Plus. It's identical in all respects to the Mul-T-Lock MT5 Plus, just branded under the Lockwood name. And of course, Lockwood and Mul-T-Lock are both under the ASSA ABLOY corporate family. This is the first MT5 Plus that I opened on my very first attempt, and I was very impressed with myself until I took it apart and I realized that this lock was master keyed. And security was compromised in a couple of different ways that I'll show you when we take it apart. But first, let's try to pick this guy open, and then we will get to seeing what's inside. First thing we do with these locks is move all the sliders to the far right. And let's do that right now. Okay, I think we've got them where we want them. Now let's put a little bit of tension on it and go for the alpha spring, which is usually the first thing to bind in these locks. Got a click out of him. Now let's move to the pin-in-pin chambers, and there's 5 of them. Okay, click out of 1. Nothing from 2. 3 is binding. Got a little click there. Nothing on 4. Got a nice click out of 5. Back to the beginning. Nothing on 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Okay, I got a little bit of movement on the core, so let me check to see if the sliders are holding us up. Okay, 1 is definitely not binding. Okay, 2's binding. Okay, got a click out of him, and I think he's loose now. 3 is okay, 4 is okay. Okay, click out of 5, and a little bit more movement on the core. Let's go back to the pin-in-pin chambers. Another click out of 1, click out of 2, click out of 3, nothing on 4, 5 is binding. Got to click out of him, go back to the beginning. Nothing on 1, 2, 3. Click out of 4, nothing on 5. Hopefully we're pretty close. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, we went into a nice deep false set, which means we probably only have inner driver pins now. Let's check for them. Found one on 2. Found one on 3. And there we go. Opened her up. Okay, so it definitely put up some fight. I'm not saying the master key has made this a toothless tiger, but certainly we got into it a lot easier than we should have. Okay, let's take this guy apart and I'll show you everything inside. First thing to do is remove this Phillips screw down the shackle hole. And that gets the core out. And since we do have a key, let's relock this. There's a couple screws on the back. And before I take them off, let me just show you the little pin right here, that after you take this plate off, you can move that pin over to this hole right here. If you leave it here, it's key retaining. If you move it over here, it's not key retaining. A nice little feature that is very similar in function to the ABIS Z-bar, but just Lockwood's take on it. Okay, we have another 2 screws behind that. Okay, now let's get a key and a follower. And be very, very careful because there is a ton of pieces in these locks that can fall out if you don't take it apart correctly. Okay, I'm taking it apart. Okay, I think we're about to lose a ball bearing out the back. Okay, we got rid of him. Now let's turn him over, take the sidebar out, and let's try to get these sidebar springs so we don't lose them later. Okay, there's one of them, and there's the other. Okay, next thing is dropping these key pins out. Okay, number 1. Number 2 is standard, no pin-in-pin functionality at all, just one solid pin. Number 4 is solid plus a master wafer. Number 5 is solid, and then number 6 is the alpha spring mechanism. And let me flip all these around so they're in the right direction. So the only key pins that have the pin-in-pin functionality is number 1, and 2 through 5 are all solid. That's one way in which you can master key the Mul-T-Lock type devices. And we do have one master wafer. Let's start with the driver pins and we'll see what else is in there. Okay, number 1 is a normal MT5 driver, standard outer and spooled inner. Number 2, we have a master wafer and a standard MT5 driver. Number 3, we have a master wafer and a standard MT5 driver. Number 4, just the driver, but of course we already have a master wafer there. And then number 5, another master wafer and the MT5 driver. And this last one, it's just a normal standard pin for the alpha spring mechanism. Okay, next in line we need to get the sliders out of here. Okay, number 1, I'll give you close-ups of these in just a minute, but you can see you will be able to see there's some master keying in the sliders as well. Okay, I think we got everything out of there, just springs left. Okay, let me flip all these sliders around so you can see what they did. A couple of the sliders have widened true gates and a couple of them actually have 2 true gates. So let me give you a close-up of all of this now. Okay, first thing we're going to look at are the standard pins. In slot 1, we have what we would normally see in an MT5, and that is the pin-in-pin key pins plus the pin-in-pin driver pins. The key pins on slots 2 through 5, however, are completely solid. And let me show you no pin-in-pin functionality at all. In addition to that, we have master wafers, and then we have the normal driver pins on top of it, but they really don't do much at that point. Now moving on to the sliders, you can see in slots 1, 2, and 5 we have very much widened true gates, makes it really easy to hit them. And then in slots 3 and 4, each of the sliders has 2 true gates. So again, makes it much easier to pick those sliders. Nothing's been done to the alpha spring mechanism. I don't think Mul-T-Lock has any way to master key them. Every single lock is exactly the same in that respect. Then you can see in slot 7 we have the sidebar, nothing unusual about that. Moving over to this core, nothing unusual for a MT5 Plus. You can see each of the 5 chambers has counter milling. Nothing unusual about the alpha spring chamber at the very end. We have drill protection in front of the pin stack. And you can see above and below the keyway 2 more pieces of drill protection. And then there's that hole for a ball bearing, which we had over in slot 7 there. And that's just to make sure someone doesn't drill right down the edge of the lock and cut it in half. Then we have another piece of drill protection guarding the sidebar. And then here's the slots for all of our sliders. Okay, so as you can see, a lot of different ways that security was compromised. We got rid of the pin-in-pin functionality, we have multiple shear lines, and we have multiple gates in the sliders. Pretty much the only master keying method they didn't use in here was removing a pin stack altogether. But you usually only see that in the really high pin count locks, things like Kaba Expert, Kaba 20, things along those lines. In any case, this has been our 334B with the MT5 Plus core. Con, Peter, William, thank you again for this great lock. To everyone else, if you have any questions or comments, please put them below. If you liked this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, have a nice day. Thank you.